Hello and welcome back. This is another fifth grade math video where we're going to be focusing on how to multiply by three-digit numbers. So that's either going to be three-digit by three-digit or four-digit by three-digit. Okay, and just like I've done in previous videos on multiplying, I'm going to show you each problem in a few different ways, and you can always decide which way you like the best. I'm going to start out with the standard algorithm on this one. So standard algorithm says that we're going to stack the numbers on top of each other with the number with the most digits on the top. Now, since they both have three digits, some learners like to go ahead and just put the biggest number on top, which is totally fine. You could put it where it's a 515 on top and you would still get the same answer. So I'm going to go ahead and put 853 times 515. Now I spread it out a little bit just so we have some room in case we need to do some regrouping and things get crowded. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply every top number by that 5 in the ones place on the bottom. We're going to start with the 1. So 3 times 5 is 15. So I need to split that up because whenever you multiply in the standard algorithm and you get a two-digit answer, you have to put the ones on the bottom and the tens on top of the next place value. So that's going to be 15. Now I'm going to do 5 times 5, which is 25, plus 1, which is 26. Then I'm going to do 8 times 5, which is 40, plus 2, which is 42. Now, with nothing to hold up the 4, it's going to fall straight down, and there's my first partial product. So now I'm going to go back and erase these, erase these. I can even cross this off, but if you don't want to do all that, that's okay. You just absolutely have to add a 0 here because your second row is going to be showing a number that you got by multiplying by a number in the tens place. So you have to put a 0 there. 3 times 1 is 3. 5 times 1 is 5. And 8 times 1 is 8. So for your second row of partial product, what you're going to do is multiply every number on the top by the number in the tens place on the bottom number. Okay, now we're going to move on and I can go ahead and cross this off because we're done multiplying by that number. Now for your third row, you have to add 2 zeros. That shows that now you're multiplying by a number that's in the hundreds place. So 3 times 5 is 15. So I'm going to go ahead and put 5 there and regroup the 1. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 1 is 26. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And 8 times 5 is 40, plus 2 is 42. Okay, now you may have noticed, well, you're multiplying by 5 again. So wouldn't you get the same partial product? And that is correct. It would just be 2 place values over because it was in the hundreds place. Okay, now let's add this up. 5, 9, 12. This is a big one. Okay, 1 plus 5 or 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 8 is 13. 13 plus 6 is 19. Then a 3 and then a 4. So the final answer to this one would be 439,295. Okay, here is our next one. We're going to take 672 and multiply it by 240. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to show you using kind of partial product. So what I want to do is take that first number and I'm going to write it 3 times. 672, 672, and 672. Now I'm going to take the second number and I'm going to break it up into its place values. So 240 has 200s, so that we could represent that with 200. 4 tens, so we'd represent that with 40, and 0 ones. So I'm going to split these 3 place values up underneath the 672. So this is going to be 200, and you might be going, wait, that's not lined up. It's not, and I'll show you why. 40, it's going to be lined up like this, and 0. Okay, so now I've got all these partial products. Let's start with the 672 times 200. The reason I moved the 2 over is so that I could focus on the numbers that are not 0. So if you've seen some of my previous videos about multiplying numbers ending in 0, this will make a little bit more sense. 2 times 2 is 4. 7 times 2 is 14. So I'll put the 4 here and regroup that 1. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So I'd get 1,344, but I'm going to drop down those 2 zeros that are sticking out at the end first. Okay, so there's my first partial product. For the next one, I'm going to focus on 2 times 4, which is 8, 7 times 4, which is 28, and then 6 times 4, which is 24, plus 2 would be 26. And then I'm going to drop that 0 that's kind of sticking out at the end. For the last one, anything times 0 is just 0. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and cross that off. That one is done. Now, my final step is to add these together. So I'm going to go ahead and line them up. 1, 3, 4, 4, 0, 0. And then I'm going to 0 here, an 8 here, another 8, a 6, and a 2. Okay, now I'm going to add those up. That's going to be 0. That's going to be 8. That's going to be 12. And then that would be 11. And then that would be 6 and 1. So my final answer here would be 161,280. Okay, here is our next one. This one is 363 times 442. For this one, I'm going to show you how to use this one doing the area model or the box method. So I'm going to start by taking 363 and breaking it up into its place values. It has 3 hundreds, so that would be 300. It has 6 tens, which has a value of 60, and 3 ones. Okay, so that means I'm going to go ahead and draw the box underneath it and divide it into the 3 columns. Then I'm going to split up 442. So 442 has 4 hundreds represented by 400, 4 tens represented by 40, and 2 ones. So now I'm going to go ahead and draw the lines that match. So you can see we have a lot of numbers to multiply. Okay, so that means for that top left box, we're going to be multiplying the number above it, which is 300, times the number to the side, which is 400. So 3 times 4 is 12, but then I have to add 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros to that. Okay, for the one next to it, just to the right, we're going to be multiplying the number on top, which is 60, times the number off to the side, which is 400. 6 times 4 is 24, and then we're going to add 3 zeros to that. Okay, and then all the way to the right of that row, 3 times 400, 3 times 4 is 12, and then add 2 zeros. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and add that up. And like I would recommend doing it off to the side so you can make sure everything's lined up properly. But we're going to take 1200 or 12 with 4 zeros, and then add that to 24 with 3 zeros, and then add 12 with 2 zeros, and you should get 145,200 as that partial product. And again, you don't have to add up the rows if you don't want to. Some prefer to add up the columns because things can line up more easily. Entirely up to you. In the end, they just all have to add up. Okay, so now to the middle row. 300 times 40 is 12 plus 3 zeros. 60 times 40 is 24 with 2 zeros. And 3 times 40 is 12 with 1 zero. So if we add up all those partial products in that row, we should end up with 520. Now, if you want to, because it's already kind of lined up, you can like place it under here so it's kind of lined up for adding. Let's see, 5, and then 4, and then 1. Some learners will do that just to make it a little bit easier for them to add at the end. Okay, bottom row, 300 times 2 would be 600. 60 times 2 would be 12 plus a 0, so 120. And 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, you want to add these up. That should give you 726. So 2. There we go. Okay, last step is to add these all up. So that means 0, 0, and 6 is 6. 2 and 2 is 4. 5 and 7 is 12, plus 2 is 14. And then 5, 4, and 1 is 10. Okay, and then that would be 6 and 1. So our final answer for this one should be 160,446. Okay, here is our next one. It's 791 times 145. So again, I'm going to show this one using the standard algorithm, which means I'm going to put the 791 on top. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then 145. And again, spread out a little bit just to give yourself room for regrouping or, when crossing things off if things get messy. So now we need to multiply everything on the top by the 5 in the ones place. So 1 times 5 is 5. 9 times 5 is 45. So I'll put the 5 there and regroup the 4. And then 7 times 5 is 35. 35 plus 4 is 39. So I'll put the 9 there and regroup the 3. There's nothing to hold 3 up there, so it's going to fall straight down. So there is our first partial product. I'm going to erase these and these lines. I'm going to cross off this 5, but you must add a 0 because that shows that now you are multiplying by a number in the tens place. So now I'm going to do 1 times 4, which is 4. 9 times 4, which is 36. So 6 here and 3 gets regrouped. Then 7 times 4 is 28. And I have to add 3. And I'm doing this off to the side because I have a little trouble regrouping, adding and subtracting in my head. So no shame there. 8 plus 3 is 11 and 31. Okay, so that's going to be a 1. Regroup the 3, nothing to hold it. So it's going to fall. All right. I'm going to erase this and this. I'm going to even erase these. I don't need them anymore. And cross off the 4. Now for the third row, I have to add 2 zeros because I'm multiplying by a number in the one or in the hundreds place. So 0, 10 or 0, 1, 0 tens. 1 times 1 is 1, 9 times 1 is 9, and 7 times 1 is 7. Okay, time to add them all up. We get 5 here, 9 here. Ooh, 9 plus 6 plus 1 is 16. Then 3 plus 9 is 12, and 2 more would be 14. And then that should be 11. So your final answer to this one should be 114,695. Okay, here is the last one for today's video, and this is a doozy because it's a 4-digit number times a 3-digit number. So I'm going to use partial products, and I'm going to split up that larger 2,379 by its place values. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So 2,379 has 2 thousands, 300s, 7 tens, which is 70, and 9. Now I'm going to multiply each of those by the 810, or more specifically, the 81 with a 0 hanging off to the side. So again, if you're a little confused by that, check out previous videos I've done on how to multiply numbers ending in zeros. Okay, the trick to this is you have to place the 81 or the 810 underneath the larger numbers and above the other numbers. I know that's a little like, what? Right? Okay, so here's what I mean. So 81 with a 0 hanging out here. I did that because that one has 4 digits and 810 has 3. This one I can also do down here because it is the same number of digits. This one gets a little confusing, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put the 81 with the extra 0 up here. And in fact, I might do an even more of a shortcut there. We'll get to that one when we get to it. And then this one, I'm going to put, again, the 810 up here because it has more digits. And again, I might realign that one before we start. Okay, so let's go ahead and do 2,000 times 810. More specifically, times 81, and then we'll add a 0 at the end. So 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 1 is 0 again. And, oh, you know what? As I was doing this, I was like, wait a second. I can make this even easier. Okay, I can do 81 times 2, and then I'm going to add back 3 zeros for the 1,000 and another 0 for the 10. So I'm going to add 4 zeros at the end and make this as simple as I can. So 81 times 2 would be 216. Okay, so that means 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros get added back to that one. Okay, that made it even easier. I'm going to do the same thing here. I've got 3 zeros in this problem, so I'm going to erase those and put them up here. And then I'm going to switch this, so it's, so it's 81 times 3. 81 times 3, so that's going to be 324, and then add those 3 zeros there. Okay, for this one, I'm going to take these two zeros away, put them up here to remind myself. Now I'm going to do 81 times 7. So 1 times 7 is 7, and 8 times 7 is 56. And then I'm going to add 2 zeros to that one. And this one, I'm only going to add 1 0 back. So I'm going to put that one up there, erase this, and then I'm going to do 81 times 9. So 1 times 9 is 9, and 8 times 9 is 72. And then I'm going to add a 0 back. My last step is to add all of these together. So I do recommend that you rewrite them and stack them according to place value so that everything's lined up. When you do that, you should end up with 1,926,990 as your answer. Yeah, I told you it was a big one. All right, you guys, we're going to stop here for today. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon.